Good morning, Ronnie.
Good morning, Gary.
And this is Gary Feldman, President of US Computer Connection.
And Ronnie Kaplan of Computer Training Solutions.
And we got another great training lesson and class for you, webinar series. Ronnie's going to be doing Excel, which is, I know people love Excel.
Oh, yes, they do. And they love to learn more things to do with Excel and shortcuts, how to do them. So we're going to talk today about how you create three-dimensional formulas. In other words, adding up or doing formulas on items in multiple sheets of the same file or from multiple files.
Great. Well, why don't we get started?
Okay, so I am going to enlarge this screen, which just shows you a very simple spreadsheet of different products at different locations. And this is a summary sheet which does not have the information filled in. And so we have Q1 data. You know, we just have totals for each product and totals across for each location. And then we have Q2, Q3, Q4. And so you probably want at some point to add them all up. And these are all obviously sheets in the same file. And I'm going to show you a couple of ways to do that. So if we go to the first cell that's looking at the washing machine sales in Chicago, which is in B5, and we say, okay, I want to equal. That was pretty silly. Okay, I want to create a formula there, so of course they all start with equal. And I want to say add the B5 in Chicago plus, go to the second quarter, the B5, which is again the washing machines in Chicago, plus the third quarter, same thing, plus, and the fourth quarter, and we're just going to select it. You do not ever put an operator at the end. So notice the formula bar is adding up the B5 cells in Q1 through 4. And I'm going to say enter. And here we have the answer, and these are the total sales of washing machines in Chicago. Now, because these are all laid out identically, which is, of course, the best way to set up your spreadsheets, if possible, I can grab that autofill handle in the lower right corner, and if I double-click, it's going to fill in all of the other cities because they're just all relative. So the first one was B5, next one is adding up all the B6s, all the B7s, all the B8s, which was exactly how they were on the other sheets. So I can then select all of those and grab the autofill handle and drag across, and now I have added up for all of the cities and for all of the products. So this one is adding C5, and the refrigerators in San Francisco are, in all of the different cities, are D7 and so forth, because they're all just copying, doing a relative copy. So that is one way to do this, and it certainly works. I'm going to delete that data from the summary because I want to show you another way that's perhaps even easier, especially if you had many more to add. Let's say you had a sheet for each month, and then you had a summary sheet. So you would have had 12. So do you want to create formulas that say this plus this plus this 12 times? Probably not. So here's another way to do this. Again, all of the information in this case has to be set up identically so that the first cell you're adding has to be in the same cell on each of the sheets. And in this case, we're going to use an auto sum or equal sum. And then we're going to go to the first Q1, and I'm going to click on the first piece of data I want to add, which is the washing machines for Chicago, B5. I'm going to hold my Shift key down, and then I'm going to go down to the bottom and click on Q4. So this is telling me I want to add Q1 through Q4 on the B5 cell. And when I enter, I'm going to get, of course, the same answer I had before. And again, I could autofill down and then drag to autofill across. And that's a little shorter to do in this case. But if you had, as I said, 12 months or 20 reps or 30 products, it would be a lot easier to do it this way rather than creating any of those very long formulas. But again, everything has to be laid out identically in order to do that. Okay, I'm going to do another example of that. a little bit differently. So here we have a workbook where we have different cities, and in each city, again, there are different products, and this is just the first quarter, January, February, and March, and then we have the totals. So I'm going to go to the summary sheet, and again, I can do this. I can say, put in a sum formula and say from New York, the first printer in January, this is the B6 cell, hold down shift, and then go to the last city, Dallas. So I am saying add up New York through Dallas on that cell, which happens to be B6, and here I have my answer. And again, I can use my autofill and double click to fill down, and then grab the autofill and drag across, and I have just done that very easily. Now I want to point out something. This says on all of these, New York through Dallas. So let's keep our eye on one of these totals, like 360,000. And what happens if I move San Francisco past the summary? And then I go back to the summary. Now it's not the same 360,000 because I have moved San Francisco outside of that range of New York through Dallas. If I move San Francisco back into the range, actually it has to be before Dallas, then the summary will go back to what we had before. So when you're doing a range, you have to be careful that those items you put in the range are what you want. And for instance, if I was to create another tab here, another sheet for Chicago, and I added that information in, it would also add into the summary if that sheet was within the range of New York, between New York and Dallas. Okay, so something to keep in mind. Now, there's another way to do this as well, and so I'm going to again delete the data I had here, and there's something called consolidate. And so there's actually a function. If I go to data, so I'm selecting the area in which I want to consolidate my data into on my summary or consolidation, whatever you call it. And if I go to the data tab, you'll see something called consolidate under data tools group. Okay, and the consolidate means just what it says. So it wants to know where is your references. So I can go to New York and I can select the data I want to consolidate and I can say add it. And then I can go to the next sheet, Philadelphia, and notice it already has that pre-selected, add it. So as long as it doesn't change, you don't have to reset it. And you really want everything to be set up exactly the same in order to do this accurately. Okay, so there are all my cities with the same B6 to D10 range. Now, here, another advantage or a distinct advantage of using the consolidate rather than the sum is to say I want to see the links to the source. I don't need to check these because I already have labels set up in my summary, so I don't need to say use the labels in the row or column. So I'm going to say OK, and once I make the columns wide enough to hold the data. Now, this is the same answers that we had before, the 360,000 some odd. But what's new about this, when you use consolidation and you say show the links to the data, you have this kind of outline column or margin, and right now it's just showing the result. But if I go to number 2 here, it's going to show me all of the data that led into that consolidation. And when I select any one of these at random, you can see this comes from the Boston sheet, this comes from the Dallas sheet, this comes from the New York sheet. So you can either see all of the data with the detail for each one, or you can just see the results. Or if I say, well, I want to see the detail for this color printer, I can just click on that one, and then I can see detail and tell which sheet it comes from, or I can collapse it. So you can collapse and expand as you wish. So this is another way of adding up from multiple sheets. Again, the data really needs to be set up in the same order, the same way on all of them. Okay, so that's the consolidate. I also want to talk about what if you need to get this information from different files. So in that case, I'm going to open up a few files here. a consolidation file, and then a file for 3 people, Decker, Hanover, and Finch. Okay, so I'm going to open these 3 files. So sometimes we keep the data in different files, and then we would like to consolidate it in some way. And so that is a possibility, something you can do. And it'd be easier, I'm going to close up the files that we used before to avoid any confusion here, because we're going to visually see. It'll be much easier to do this if we can see all the files. And since there are 4 files, that'll work out fine. And I can say arrange all in the View tab, arrange all. And tiled works in this case, but you can arrange them horizontally or vertically as well. And notice this is what I'm doing here. So I'm going to, this is taking up too much space. I'm going to have to, I want to be able to see the data in all of the files. I'm just closing up the ribbons so I can see that. Okay, so here I can do this. All right. So what's different here? So this is the Finch file, and this is the Decker file. This is the Hanover file. Here is the consolidation file. And the only thing that we need to bring in here in order to get a consolidated information about sales and commissions is the quantities that were sold. So we have item numbers, price of each item, quantity, and then the sales and the commission are just built on formulas based on the quantity times the price and the commission on the sales and so forth. So it's really the quantity that we need to bring in here. Okay, so I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to go to the first cell, and I'm just going to build a formula that says equal, and I'm going to take the quantity here, plus, and then I'm going to take the quantity here, plus, and then I'm going to take the quantity here. And so I'm saying give me the quantity for the first item from all 3 sales reps, and when I enter, there's the quantity. Okay, and you can see that if we add 3 and 2 and 12, we get 17, so you can see that it works. And then I'm going to move this up so I can show you. I can just autofill, but that does not work. Okay, in this case where you're bringing it from different files, it does not work. So I would have to do again equal, and then I'd go to the second one, plus, and the second one here, plus. So it's a little bit more time consuming, but it would work. And it's taking information from the different sheets. Okay. If you're creating links like this, you can also, I'm just enlarging the summary one so we can see the whole thing. You can also edit the links. So if at some point in time one of these files was put in a different location, or one of the files was deleted, you didn't need it anymore, or whatever, instead of redoing all your formulas, because you would have had to do those formulas for all of these cells, then you can say, I want to open the source, I want to break the link, I want to change the source, where is it coming from, and so forth. And if you had done this and you had all of these filled out, and you wanted to then, let's say, email this file to your sales manager in Chicago, having links that link to your network or your local machine wouldn't be very helpful. So you could literally say break the link, and what that does is now you have just a value without any links. Okay. So see, for both of these, you just have a value. So it's kind of like paste values instead of having a formula. So that's another thing that you can do with this if you want to make this static rather than have it look for links that might not be there if you send this file to someone else. Okay, so Are there any questions about any of this stuff? So remember, we went to a few different things that we did was we went to view and we said arrange all and tile it. And so I can see, obviously, if you have more than 4, it gets a little crazy, but you can tile 2, 3, 4 sheets at once so that it makes it easy to see what you're doing. So that's one thing you can do. Okay, if anybody has any questions, there is a chat window which you can
corner, or the
put
top.
in the questions on.
Yeah, so
Yeah. Okay. Okay, glad everybody heard us. That's good.
okay. Ronnie, how do we get in touch with you?
Okay, well, you can go to computertrainingsolutions.biz, B-I-Z, or you can give me a call at 203-329-2421. And I do training with individuals, and I do training with corporate groups. Can I use the consolidation function when you're doing this? Okay, well, let's just give a try, okay? If I was here and I wanted to see data consolidate, I need to make this bigger so I can see the various, where the things are. And I said, okay, I want to see a reference that's here. I don't think it's going to work here. I'm quite sure it doesn't, but no, it doesn't. It doesn't let me get to and move around in the other sheets. So maybe if I had arranged it so that I could get to the bottom line, let's see if that works. And then I wanted to see the totals in D, and I went to data, consolidate, and the reference would be here. Ah, interesting. And then here, and then here. And let's say what happens when we create links. Okay. Is this the consolidation file? This did not, that did not work. So I think that's not going to work properly if you try to consolidate to use that function between files. Any other questions?
All right, well, check out uscomputer.com, and we have the next training session, the webinar for next month. I believe it's PowerPoint.
No, I think it was another Excel
Well, let's leave it for a surprise for everyone. Go to uscomputer.com, and on the top you'll see events, and you'll be able to sign up for our next training session.
Yeah.
Oh, one more question.
Okay.
Well, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Have
See you next month. Bye. Stop the record. Here.